My child faced a dilemma, felt defeated, felt handicapped, had difficulty in making friends, understanding social cues because something was pulling him down. Social communication, repetitive behavior, or some more challenges. Beautiful people of this world, hello. My name is Anu Chadha. I'm a business entrepreneur and a wellness coach. And today we are going to discuss autism. Our goal is not only to raise awareness, sensitize society, as there are many people who have a spectrum disorder which can vary in severity. Today's conversation will also deep dive into the unique strengths and positive attributes that come with this condition. In March this year, I discussed another mental health issue, which is bipolar disorder. This was done with American General Greg Martin, who shared his experiences and the creativity, resilience, and deep emotional insight often found in those living with this condition. By then, I was thinking of delving deeper into autism. And while doing my research, I read about Temple Grandin, an outspoken American woman for understanding autism. She emphasizes how our brain works differently. As she puts it, autism makes me different, and the world needs all kinds of minds. From childhood, people, aren't we taught that we have to label and define everything? We as a society are good with labeling and giving definitions. But here's the thing, every definition, by definition, is a limitation. Today's story is a portrait of a mother, a fighter. There are many possibilities we're going to dive deep into. And for this today, I'm super excited to welcome Bakhtawar Saini, the proud mother of Ranveer, who's an autistic Olympic medalist from India. Bakhtawar is the deputy chairperson of the Scottish High International School in Gurgaon, India. Her husband, Kartikeya Saini, a former naval officer, recipient of the Rajiv Gandhi Excellence Award. Bakhtawar, whom we fondly call Bucks, has a rich experience in the disability sector where she has mentored hundreds of children and families across the world with special education needs. I'm honored to be a host for today's informative interview. Thank you for joining us. We believe that every individual is unique, and in Ranveer's story, we see the extraordinary capabilities that can emerge when support, perseverance, and understanding are in place. Welcome back.
Hi, Anu. Well, thank you for having me on your show. Thank you.
But, we'll immediately start with some questions because I'm so interested in knowing your answers. Meeting you, seeing you here on the show, I just feel that I want to know so much more how you went through all this and what you have been doing. And this is going to be actually a roadmap for a lot of parents there and a lot of people who are sensitive towards such issues. So, my first question to you is, can you share with us your journey of understanding and accepting autism? What did you need to address and resolve within yourself to accomplish what you wanted to when you came to know about Ranveer's diagnosis? What were your initial thoughts?
Well, I'm taking you 20 years ago when Ranveer was just 1 year, 11 months old. And we noticed a couple of red flags when we were raising the boy. And I have a daughter too ahead of Ranveer, who is 4 years older to Ranveer. So I knew the developmental milestones a child needs to go through in her growing stage. So when I was observing my son grow, I felt something was amiss, definitely amiss. Initially, the awareness about autism in India was very poor. I would say we were not even aware what autism was all about. So 1 year, 11 months of Ranveer, and I felt he was deaf. He had peculiar behavior patterns. He would run around objects round and round. He would be tiptoeing and walking. He would keep constantly plugging his ears. So these were enough red flags for me to understand he would not give me eye contact. Now, eye contact is a very vital, important milestone, which we in normal rearing of kids do not even pay attention to. So we took him to a pediatric developmental doctor, and he advised me to go through a batteries of tests. So for the initial moment, I thought those batteries of tests would be something to do with the medical tests, but no. They exposed him to a concept called pretend and play, where he was exposed to various kinds of toys. And the doctor was just observing if he was appropriately playing with those toys. And my logic was a 2-year-old kid is being assessed based on the child's tantrum, based on the child's mood of the day. How are you going to assess the child? But the doctors knew what they were doing. So, pretend and play enabled the doctors to know that there was a condition called pervasive developmental disorder, NOS, not otherwise specified. Now, this was a tag and a label given to my 1 year, 11-month-old kid, and we were sent back home. So, getting a label and not knowing anything about the label was indeed a scary experience. But once we reached back, we Googled, we went through various books to understand that our child has been labeled with autism when he's just a 2-year-old kid. And that life has to be a long struggle ahead. So that's how the autism label was introduced in my life. And that's how the beginning of autism journey happened for the Saini family.
Thank you. Thank you, Bucks, for sharing such a personal part of your journey. You know what? Pain and sadness come to even the most beautiful and the most privileged. So I can totally understand what the emotion must have been. Your experience offers so much hope to families who may be struggling right now to find their own path of understanding. And that takes us to the next question. What have been some of the biggest challenges you have faced as a parent? How could you tell us about a breakthrough moment when you realized that autism could also be a source of strength? And what did this success look like to you?
Biggest challenge which I faced was autism in those years, and maybe even now, was considered to be, in fact, not only autism, any neurological issue in today's day and age still has a societal stigma attached to it. Neurological issues in India are considered to be a talked upon topic with families, oh, that this family has a neurological issue. And the word associated, I'm talking 20 years ago, was not autism, it was mental. Oh, this family has a mental child, an abnormal child. Today, the words have become much kinder. It's differently abled. We have tags attached. It's autism, a neurotypical. So there are various aspects of a neurological journey, but a family is literally, set aside from this society that, oh, this family has a lot to cope up with. And there is a basic stigma attached to the family. So this was the biggest setback for me. And how do I work upon my child when the society around me was not willing to accept my condition, my family's condition? And initially, the journey began with me being a very weak mom, who would worry what the society would be, saying, the glares one would get when one would take Ranveer out to the malls. He had behavior issues. So if he were to be flapping his hands or, plugging his ears or running and touching because they are obsessive, they have repetitive behavior issues. So giving you an example, if we are sitting in a restaurant and if Ranveer is fond of pizzas, he's not only fond of his pizza, but he's fond of pizzas being served in the entire restaurant in everyone's table. So he would go running, touch somebody's pizza, and I would get glares. Initially, I was labeled as a bad parent. I did not know how to raise a kid. Nobody would understand that there is a background of autism attached here. So I would go running, defend myself. No, there is an autism issue. I'm sorry. It's not bad parenting. It's not bad behavior. It is just that there are so many behavior patterns which are attached to autism. So this is how the journey began. The social stigma was what gave families like me a setback till we realized that the only way to come forward is get rid of that stigma mentally from yourself. And once you are at peace with yourself, you find ways and means to work with your boy. And I think that's strong will and the support I got from my husband and my family and Ranveer's siblings, I think paved a way for me that I need to be a strong mom and work upon my child. And I think the biggest breakthrough, I would say, is when I, as a mother, accepted that my child has autism. I, as a mother, realized that I have a long struggle ahead of me, but I took it upon as a challenge to understand what autism is and try and beat autism or enjoy autism. Might as well enjoy the journey once I have been given an autistic kid as a gift by God. So that's how I took it, and that's how I progressed.
Hearing about the challenges and breakthroughs truly highlights the resilience of both you and Ranveer. It's absolutely remarkable that through perseverance, these obstacles actually become opportunities for growth. Thank you for sharing that. What is the bright side of the current situation? Autism often comes with unique perspectives and abilities. Could you share some of the positive attributes you have seen in Ranveer because of his state? How do you think his unique way of seeing the world has contributed to his success as an athlete?
Anu, I always joke with my husband. I have three beautiful children. I have an older daughter and a younger son, and Ranveer is my middle fellow. That's when I see all the three kids growing up, as all of us have our share of, at times, a little manipulation, a little lie, innocent lie here and there as our journey begins, or, a little indiscipline, maybe miss out on a workout, or, eat something which is not meant for your diet or meant for your health. But with these kids, as am seeing Ranvi grow into a beautiful adult, I find that I, in fact, have been given the best gift by God. I have a child who does not know how to lie. I have a child who's pure and honest. I have a child who understands that his routine has to be followed come what may, super disciplined. So these are the positives of autism. So if they are obsessed with a routine, might as well channelize that obsession into framing his routine in such a way that he benefits during his daytime. So to have an honest child, I remember an incident when I had a guest who had suddenly reached my house, and I was not very keen on meeting that person. So I just happened to tell Ranveer, why don't you just go and tell him Mama is not home? And he tells me, no, Mama is home. So that's when it struck me that what am I even trying to teach this boy? They are super, super straight and they do not understand what manipulation is. So I might as well enjoy these beautiful qualities of my boy rather than focus on his negatives. So they have immense strength and immense good qualities.
So, I'm totally actually taken in when you talk about, so much self-discipline, no lies, so much honesty. I mean, I totally, totally agree with you that these are such beautiful, rare, values which somewhere, our kids, they forget. But it's nice to know that, you're enjoying this. It's wonderful to hear how Ranveer's perspective and abilities have been a driving force in his success. And your insight reminds us that these differences can be such valuable strengths, especially when nurtured with deep love and support, acceptance and understanding.
Of
I
course.
am so amazed, and I really think this is wonderful. What message would you like to send to parents who are just starting their journey with an autistic child? What does a brave step really look like? Also, if they choose to do nothing, I mean, some parents, they're just hiding their children, they do nothing. How will that eventually look in their life?
I know for me and my husband, it was very clear we need to brandish our child. We literally need to make him go and attend every possible social event. I would not bother as a mom what glares I would get from the society or whether the society wants him in a function or not. It is my responsibility to brandish my child. He has all the right to live and enjoy life like you and I do. So, the early acceptance by a parent and getting across that denial stage as quickly as possible will help the parents wean in the child into the system. And I feel early intervention is the best way to move forward because the plasticity of a young child's brain is so much more than if you were to start intervention at a maybe an 8 year or a 9 year old autistic kid. Try and utilize the early crucial years of the child. Do not waste time by hiding the child behind social stigmas and getting that acceptance from the society, which is not needed in your life. So step out, brandish your child, start early intervention as soon as possible is the message I need to convey to all the possible young mothers and young dads who are going through this journey. Early intervention.
I would still like you to point a little bit more on what if some parents don't choose to do nothing? How will that eventually look if they do nothing about this?
What happens is, as the child is growing, the child, if the parent does not do anything, I answered that. If there is no intervention, no therapy, the child is being exposed to. The child, if I know of cases, I know where these children go absolutely hyper. They have hyperactivity issues. Their sensory activities are not normal. So either a child could be hypoactive or a child could be hyperactive. So depends on the child's requirement. First of all, the spectrum is a wide umbrella. Each child on the spectrum is different than the other. So there is no common ground or a common symptom which my kid could have vis-a-vis another autistic boy. So A, stop comparisons. So parents should understand there is no comparison barrier. Oh, if he could achieve this, my child has to achieve this. No, that's absolutely incorrect. So early intervention is the only way forward to curb down a few of his behavior issues, to help the child progress a little in his academic, in his personal routine. Otherwise, you are dealing with a super hyper machine who is going to finally explode if not tamed in the right way. So early intervention is the only way a child can be tamed to be on the right path of treatment. You know, your medical interventions, your spiritual interventions, parents like us go through that process. But early intervention, as in my journey, I felt was the only way I could take Ranveer forward.
So I wanted to ask you another question. How do you think society can better support individuals with autism, both in the field of education and in sports? And really, what changes would you like to see in society? And where do you see conflict emerging in society? Do they not understand sometimes, or are they a little insensitive? What do you think? And last but not the least, in this section, what is your one wish from society?
My wish for the society would be to accept these children, embrace these children, and make them feel a part of the society. They have certain issues, but then you and I also have our own share of issues to deal with in life. So let's all live amicably as one big society rather than, identifying these children with different disabilities. Rather than, I would rather have the society identify these kids with super abilities rather than their disabilities. So, coming to what the society needs to do is we need to have lots of awareness programs. We need to promote autism. We need to spread awareness about what autism is and focus on the positives of autism rather than the negatives. We need inclusive setups, which are so much amiss. We need, the airports to be specialized and sensitive towards these children. We need public transports to be specialized and sensitive towards their requirements. We need inclusive stadiums. We need a university. We need an educational setup where these kids can beautifully either mainstream or have an inclusive setup where these kids can be, leading a normal academic journey rather than, putting them in a learning center and asking them and the parents to be, fending for their lives. So I think there is a dearth of awareness in today's society, and we begin with having podcasts like these, which help in promoting autism awareness and spreading awareness. We need to have job livelihood opportunities for these children. What after they become adults? Where do parents like us go? How do these kids have any kind of source of income in their life? Aren't they genius enough to get jobs? Let's design jobs based on their disabilities rather than, following the mundane routine of employment. So change the scope of employing when you are employing. Keep a segment for these differently able students and adults too. I think we need a radical change in the society to have an inclusive society in the true sense.
I totally agree with you because I was reading about this that, 1% of the world has people who are challenged, with the different over a varied spectrum of autism or bipolarism. So 1% is huge, huge numbers, and it's no mistake of theirs. And we as people, society, have to be very, very sensitive towards all this. And I totally agree that, stadiums and, centers and hospitals and airports, everything should have a sort of a way of making them feel merged with society. So you bring up such important points about the need for this greater inclusion and understanding. It's clear that with the right support, individuals with autism can excel in multiple areas. That takes us to the next question, which is a little bit more sensitive. And this is about patience. We understand that patience is a very big value. It's the key in life. How did you develop the patience required in this journey? And what strength of yours did you use?
I know, I think patience is a very valuable trait which all of us need to have when we begin our life and when we progress in our life. But working with a special needs child and making him understand a simple concept, for example, you need to understand kids with autism have lack of attention, have very limited sitting time on a chair. So, teaching them your daily concepts, teaching them various learning techniques, you need to condition your way, the way you teach these children. You need to change parts. You cannot be teaching him the same way you teach my daughter, for example. So we had to be a very patient, both me and my husband were very patient in our approach to Ranveer. We would understand what was triggering his restlessness. Over time, we started understanding that pattern. For example, if I were to tell him, Ranveer, we need to go out, just quickly get dressed and let's leave. Now, this word quickly get dressed triggers a pattern of anxiety in him. He has to be told about his day much in advance. So, planning a child's day, all this needs a lot of patience and a lot of love and care. You cannot handle them the way you handle, your normal setup. So, with patience, one started understanding that we were yielding results too. He was understanding the way we were handling him. We were preparing him how his day was going to look like. In case there was any change we were seeing, we would prepare him in advance. We would, give him those emotional hugs. We would give him the positive reinforcers, very important, which accompanies with patience. So when you're handling your child with patience, always give him a positive reinforcement. Tell him that if he accomplishes this particular task, patiently deals with you, you will show him a little carrot from the far that, after you finish this task, you're going to get a small burger or a small gift for yourself. So these were ways how I would teach Ranveer. I would prepare him. And with he can even read your body language. These kids are super sharp. So if you are running out of patience, the whole experience of learning would go down the drain. So you had to be a very patient and a very, very understanding mom, predicting what your child's next move is.
So, your journey and ways to develop patience is truly, truly inspiring. It's powerful. It's a big reminder that this quality doesn't just come overnight, but grows with deep love and understanding. Hats off to you
Thank
for
you.
recognizing that. Yeah, yeah. And a little bit more on this because I think, our values, emotions, all these things really matter a lot in our lives. So let's talk a little bit more about emotions. Um, they are difficult to navigate, especially for such children. Um, so you spoke about triggers, and that was going to be my next question. That what are his triggers, and are they common amongst children who are on the spectrum, or are they very specific? And how do you track your personal emotions as a parent to maintain a balance and keep a supportive environment?
No, Anu, they are not common. They may be seemingly very common, but for example, I'll talk about Ranveer. Ranveer was a very hyperactive child. So he was having major sensory issues. So even we're making him wear a new t-shirt would be an ordeal because it's said, the texture of the t-shirt. One had to go into that kind of detailing. So these kids, once they have sensory issues, I remember having a full wall, a panel in my house with various textures of fabric. So I would run past his hand, brush his hand on all the fabrics to make him understand, to make myself understand which fabric is triggering what kind of a reaction, to go to that kind of detailing with these kids. So emotions, definitely earlier there would be meltdowns, showdowns, running away from social situations. These were his ways of not emotionally settling down in a situation. Our ways were, obviously, we would be also very depressed as parents. We would be feeling dejected, frustrated. The emotions would all get bottled up. And when finally we would also, as parents, have our meltdowns, that why are things just not falling into place? But like you rightly said in your earlier question, patience is the trick. And that does the trick, trust me. So I'll give you an example of his golfing journey. Now, to teach him golf, now golf is a technical game. You are a golfer, I am a golfer. We both understand that. Now, to teach him golf, in golf, you require focus. It's a mental game. You require, agility. You require to be by the nature. You need to be spending more time to finish a complete round of golf. With autism, lack of attention span, very poor. Lack of focus, very poor. So, how am I going to have both the technique and the disability meet? So, that was a journey Karthik and I took upon ourselves. And we met very beautiful coaches and wonderful people in our way on our journey. So Mr. Anitya Chand at the DLF Golf Club, this was his first differently able student golfer who we went to him without any expectations. We just wanted Ranveer to merge into a family game of golf. That is all that we wished for this kid, because they have very poor social skills, and because of which he had no friends. He's 23 with, I can count one or two friends who he has in his life. So, lack of awareness, like I said, social skills, very poor. So, we were, as parents, emotionally drained out with the feeling that our child does not have a friend to communicate in, and go and play a sport with. So that's why we decided to become his friends. We wanted to absorb him in a game of golf. And that's how golf was introduced in his life. And we were the mediators between the coach and the student. And we were, making life and the instructions, passing them on in a simplified way to Ranveer for him to finally, after 2 years, 2.5 years of patience, that click finally happened and the ball flew in the air. So that's how the golfing journey also began. So, yes, emotions both ways. This child is full of emotions. You just have to channelize. I remember making him sit in front of a mirror to make him understand what a sad face looks like, what a happy face looks like. To these emojis which we see on our phones were emojis which we as parents would literally, you know, showcase to him in front of a mirror and make him understand. I had a death in my family recently. I lost my dad-in-law who was very close to Ranveer. Now, this is again a big emotion. They don't understand death.
Your ability in remaining composed in challenging situations is very admirable, Bucks. It's a powerful message to all other parents that self awareness and emotional control can impact the entire journey, because it's not just about today. And like you said, you talked about your father in law who passed away. So you were trying to tell him that these things do happen because he's young. The entire journey is in front of him. So he will gradually try to kind of be at peace with all this. It's heartening to hear how you've managed both your own and Ranveer's emotions. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
That takes me to another question, which is more about our life, our situations, it's about our, and it's about dealing with hygiene. So maintaining hygiene can sometimes might be challenging for individuals with autism, as sensory issues often come into play. How have you managed to establish hygiene routines with Ranveer, and what strategies have worked best for you?
Anu, I feel you need to identify the technique, the gardener's technique of teaching and learning which the child is. So in Ranveer's case is a visual learner. So I remember making lots of worksheets, lots of videos, lots of real life pictures, and pasting and making worksheets and workbooks for him. And as a storytelling session, I would go in regime of how a child needs to have his bath twice a day, morning and night, how we need to change our clothes, how we need to, be changing undergarments too. So for us, for raising a normal child, these are just normal, science or biology. You teach your child and your child knows the path of hygiene. But for us as parents, we need to be working more in depth about hygiene. And I was very clear after I realized that I also have limited time on earth. I have to teach my child the all day living skills, which are very important, where parents tend to waste time, is pushing the kid into academic rigor. Or why would my child not be learning mental maths? Why would my child not be? But you are wasting crucial years. Time to introduce all day living skills. And all day living skills is a large topic. So, what I did is I first educated myself. I finished my master's in autism because I really wanted to understand what my child is going through. I wanted to be an educated mother who would be guiding him in the right way. And I realized teaching hygiene at the most earliest stage of his life was the best decision. I had to teach him that you need to change clothes in private. You cannot be, just changing anywhere. I know of autistic cases, if they are not attended and guided well, these kids do not understand the community living aspect. So I have kids who have run literally semi nude on the roads because they have not been taught. So these were, enough worry signals for me that I need to control his and curb his hygiene values. So again, rigidity, because they have every Sunday, nails need to be cut. Every 15 days, you need to go for a haircut. And trust me, once the routine is followed, these kids follow the routine set for them to the T. They are not indisciplined like us or lazy like us. Come what may, if he knows every alternate Tuesday, he needs to go for a short trip at the parlor. So these are issues and these are ways of teaching a child hygiene is the most important aspect. How would a child, these kids will have no clue that their nails have grown or their hair are grown or they need to, personal hygiene I'm talking about. You need to be, shaving, you need to be, having, you have long hair, you need to be doing something about your personal hygiene, or you're stinking, you need to have some perfume on you. So all this literally Ranveer was taught through worksheets with personal experiences, his dad changing, showing him how we had to be role models for him. We had to enact every action which we were teaching. So my husband would go in the bathroom, come back with his changed clothes. Initially buttoning up a shirt also was a sensory issue. So how do you do that? Stringing a shoe, put a shoelace into a boot of a shoe and see. So these are small motor gross movements which we taught our child. And today he is an independent adult looking after his own hygiene. And I have no idea when he goes and comes back completely shaved and with a haircut. So that's
Wow.
Ranveer. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Your experience with the building hygiene routines offers very practical insights for all other parents who are watching this show. Um, we and who might be facing similar challenges. It's helpful to see how patience and consistency can really, really make a difference in life. Wonderful. And that takes us to another segment of our conversation. That's about, logical reasoning. Many individuals with autism we have seen have a unique way of approaching logical reasoning. How does his ability to think logically impact his daily life or even his approach to athletics, in which he has aced? How do you see it as a strength in his overall development?
I know as a kid, I would notice him lining up all his toy cars. So logic was, I had already sensed that this kid has lot of logic. He would have everything, systematic in his in his learning. Even a small grain of rice on the floor would be detected by him. So I knew he had eye for detail. I would not look at the negatives, I would look at the positives. I had exposed him to mental games like Sudoku, board games, a carom board, a mental math game, puzzles, different kinds of puzzles. I remember I started with a 100-piece puzzle and he graduated, and I realized he has the ability to assemble a 2,000-piece puzzle in a jiffy. So if these kind of positive abilities are there in your child, I invested and I literally extracted those positive abilities into his game of golf. I realized that technique, if Ranveer has been taught with certain instructions given to him by his sir, that hold the club, have, align yourself and brush the grass, divot ahead. Now, these were 4 5 instructions taught to him by Anitya sir. Come what may. Every shot in those 18 holes, he will have his 2 practice swings. He will memorize those lines in his head and then go for the final click. Unlike us, who straight go dive upon your shot and, at times land up here and there. So I inculcated his discipline into his game of golf. Initially, we would have cards made. We would have yardage cards. We would have instruction cards pasted on his golf club, on his golf bag. So, and I would inform the caddies also who would take him on a round of golf that please refer to the yardage chart, please refer to the instructions, give him those verbal prompts before he hits. So, these kind of teaching ways and techniques and removing his positives that he, once I have taught him a way of handling things, he will not budge. So, it worked in my favor. Golf was a game he picked up with because he knew what discipline was, he knew what rigidity in the routine was, and that's how he turned out to be a golfer who went to the World Games and won the first gold medal for the country.
Yeah, so before we talk a little bit more about his winning the medals at the Olympics, I'm very fascinated to hear how logical thinking has played such a positive role in his life, and how children like this, they just follow everything to the T, which otherwise other children might not be following. That's really really true, and I thanks for sharing again. On being an Olympic medalist, we have all known because I belong to the DLF golf course and Ranveer is a part of it, and so are you. So, Ranveer's success is inspiring. Could you a little bit walk us through his journey to the Olympics? Because that's not a everyday thing, that's very, very special. What role did autism play in shaping his athletic discipline and focus? Although you have spoken to me a little bit about, the discipline being a part of his persona now. So, what are the green shoots? What are the opportunities you see? Hmm.
Okay, on becoming an Olympic medalist, yes, he has done the country proud not once, but he's had a hat trick of medals at the World Games. And the journey, like I said, began at when he was just 12 or 13 when we decided to send him for the Asia Pacific Golf Masters tournament in Macau. And this was a tournament which was also there for beginners. And we went there with zero expectations out of Ranveer. We just went that he would meet new people, new opportunities, and that's how we landed up at the games. And lo be it, Ranveer comes back to India with not one but 2 gold medals at the Asia Pacific Golf Masters, and that was the beginning, which when a different Ranveer. I saw a different look on his face, and that was not because of the medals. It was because he sensed the acceptance from the society. He sensed the friendly looks he got from people. He found that so much welcoming into his life, a child who was not even looked upon by any passerby now had the golfing community embrace him, talk about him, praise him. So I feel a pat on his back is what was only needed to motivate him to. He started understanding that if he was to become a good golfer, if he were to deliver, that is how he understood. If he were to deliver, he would get more love, more acceptance from the society. And this kid was yearning for that affection. So that's when I think he decided to take a plunge, and we found an opportunity from the Special Olympics, which is the national federation of the country. Special Olympics Bharat is a government recognized organization, and he's an athlete in this organization. And Special Olympics Bharat gave him an opportunity to represent India in golf at the World Games. And that's how the first World Games 2015 for Ranveer in LA was where we sent him with the Indian contingent. And he came back again, surprised us because this kid was conditioned. He knew he had to follow his techniques and put them into practice on the day of the tournament. When we as a family went with us as supporters for him, we made sure that his behavior was calm. We made sure that we cut off all the external factors which were, distracting him from his performance. We tried to, make an environment so conducive that all that Ranveer needed to do was play a game of golf, come back to his room, enjoy his good food, which we had cooked for him, homemade food, even in LA, eat his food, sleep, get enough rest, and again go back to the course. So this was a 4 day long tournament, and how the family supported and ensured that his behavior was calm. We would give him all the kind of positive reinforcements to make sure his behavior was calm, because we realize if he's calm, his focus is 100% there on the game, and it will definitely get us results. So we had understood the trick to his victory. We had understood how he would be emerging victorious each time. And believe me, he needed a support team to always accompany him to World Games. So that's
Right.
how 2015 World Games gold medal happened. 2019, he missed his goal on the 18th hole, and you being a golfer will understand. 4 days on the leaderboard and missing his goal on the 18th hole on the fourth day was again a disappointment, again a setback for Ranveer, because he became the media's golden boy. He became the Indian television's golden medal boy for the country. So for him to come back with a silver, I remember my daughter telling me, Mom, the family needs to rejoice because a silver in an Olympic format is a big thing. So I remember Ranveer had taken it a little badly on himself. He had thought that he had disappointed his family, he had disappointed his fans, and more so he had disappointed himself. So that again, to get him ready for the next World Games, which happened last year in Berlin, was an arduous task. He gave me shocks at times when he would pretend as if he has forgotten how to play golf. So these are the challenges which even he as an athlete faced.
Thank you so much, Bakhtawar, for sharing Ranveer's incredible journey with us. Hearing about the determination, resilience, and success that both you and Ranveer have achieved is truly inspiring. Your insights into how autism can shape and even enhance someone's abilities, particularly in athletics, offers so much hope and understanding to families and individuals on a similar path. As we wrap up today's conversation, I want to remind our listeners that while autism presents its challenges, it also brings unique strengths and perspectives. It's clear from Ranveer's story that with the right support, belief, and love, those on the spectrum can achieve extraordinary things. To all our listeners, thank you for joining us today. I hope this discussion has brought you new insights. Whether you're a parent, educator, or simply someone looking to understand autism better, we will continue to bring more stories like these, celebrating the diversity of human experiences and the incredible achievements that come from embracing our differences. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and let's continue to build a world where every mind, regardless of how it works, has the opportunity to thrive. Thank you.